All right, I'm going to skip to the end of 24. We're going to finish about this. I want you to hear about Jacob and Esau. Then I'm going to take a break and pick this up later on. Um, in chapter 24, Abraham sent for a wife by his servant. The wife brought back a young lady that was very humble in spirit. Her name was Rebekah. Brought back the servant brought Rebekah back to Isaac, the only son Abraham had. The wife, Sarah, had died. And so when they met, the eyes met, as Rebekah was coming back with the servant on the horses. So Isaac and Rebekah, eyes crossed path, and they got together, and he took her immediately for his wife. Now, when you get into 25, again, Abraham took a wife, a second wife, and her name was Keturah, and she bare him more children. Simram, Jashan, that's two, Median, one, two, three, four, five, six. She bare him 6 children. And then those children had, each one of them had children. So he had a slew of grandchildren. So unto the sons of the concubines which Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts and sent them away. So whenever his children's children or whatever had children, he would just give them all gifts. And these are the days and the years of Abraham's life which he lived, and 103 score and 13. I don't know how much that is. 113, I think. I know not 130. Okay, so Abraham lived a ripe old age. Then Abraham gave up the ghost and died. In a good old age, an old man full of years, and was gathered to his people. And his son Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave. See, the only other brother Isaac had was Ishmael. It was his bigger brother. It was Ishmael and Isaac. Buried him in the cave. Then in the field of Ephron, the son of Zohar, the Hittite, which is before Mamre. So he buried him somewhere he knew. The field which Abraham purchased of the son, there was Abraham buried, and Sarah his wife. So he was buried right by his wife Sarah. And it came to pass after the death of Abraham that God blessed his son Isaac, and Isaac dwelt by the well, Lahero. Now these are the generations of Ishmael, Abraham's son, whom Hagar the Egyptian, Sarah handmaiden, bare unto Abraham in the beginning. And these are the names of the sons of Ishmael, according to the generations. The firstborn of Ishmael was Nabajoth and Kedar and Abiel and Mibsam. Okay. Let's see here. These are the sons of Ishmael. Ishmael had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Ishmael had 12 sons, right? Now, and these are the years of life of Ishmael, 137 years, 137 years. And he gave up the ghost and died, and was gathered unto his place. And they dwelt from Havilah unto Shore, that is before Egypt, as thou goest toward Assyria. And he died in the presence of all his brethren. And these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begat Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he told Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel, Rebekah, sister of Laban in Syria. So Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife because she was barren. She couldn't have no children. She was something like Sarah. And the Lord entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife, she conceived. He went on the altar to God about it. And the children struggled together within her. She had twins in her, and the children were fighting. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said unto her, two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in the womb. And the first came out red and all over like a hairy garment. And they called his name Esau. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents. And Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of his venison, but Rebekah loved Jacob. And Jacob sighed pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was the name called Edom. And Jacob said, sell me this day thy birthright. And Esau said, behold, I am at the point to die. So Jacob knew that he had this pottage in the bowl, right? And his brother was weak from working out there in the field. He asked him to sell him his birthright because he knew he was the firstborn. Give me your birthright for this food. How crazy. So he wanted it because he was tired and weak. And Jacob said, swear to me this day. And he swore unto him. And he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils. And he should have just gave him that anyway. And he did eat and drink and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. So he despised his birthright because he was so hungry and faint, and he sold it for, just to get something to eat. He despised it. Now, let me tell you what happened here. I'm going to tell you everything in a minute. Now, in verse 26, there came a famine in the land besides the first famine that was in the day of Abraham and Isaac unto Abimelech, king of the Philistines. So there came another famine in the land during this time. So let me see here. Ishmael that died, he was the father of the Ishmaelites, and they are an Arab nation. His mother Hagar was an Egyptian. They were an Arab nation. But it was said that the dialect is similar to the Hebrew. So they said that the Ishmaelite were black Shemite. They were black in color. They were black Shemites. And then Jacob is one, he's going to have 12 sons. Jacob and Esau. Jacob is going to have 12 sons, and these are going to be the 12 tribes of Israel. The 12 sons, I can name Levi, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Joseph, Benjamin. Their names are written in the book. But it's 12 sons that will come from Jacob. Now, Esau also has sons. So everybody has sons, and the sons are making nations and nations of people. So in 26, there was a famine in the land. And the Lord appeared unto him and said, go not down into Egypt, dwell in the land which I shall tell thee of. Now, this is the same thing he told Abram. He said, dwell where I told you to go. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with thee, and I will bless thee, for unto thee and unto thy seed, and I will give all these countries, and I will perform the oath which I swear unto Abraham thy father. He's given the same blessing on him that he gave unto his father, because he want him to continue developing and being in this land here. He said, because this is Isaac's son, Isaac's sons. So because that Abraham obeyed my voice, and this is Abraham had put a tithe on it and had said that, I want this thing to go forth. And so when he died, this is still, the Lord still remembers Abraham promise. He still remembers Isaac promise. He's passed on, and he's still helping the generations to multiply and attain the land, even after they left, because he promised this to him, and he is not going to come short on that. So he telling the new generation here, because your father was with me and I promised to do this for him, now I'm going to do this for you because of your father and your grandfather. Now I'm going to do this for you. This is what God tell him. Now Isaac dwelt in Gerar, and the men of the place asked him of his wife, and he said, she is my sister. He says she is a sister, did the same thing. And the men of the place should kill me for Rebekah, because she was fair to look upon. This is the same thing happened with Abram, remember? And it came to pass, when he had been there a long time, that Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked out of a window and saw and beheld Isaac was sporting with Rebekah, his wife. He was walking and holding her hand, right? And Abimelech called Isaac and said, behold, of a surety, she is thy wife? And how saidest thou, she is my sister? And Isaac said unto him, because I said, lest I die for her. And Abimelech said, what is this thou hast done unto us? One of the people might lightly have lain with thy wife, and thou shouldest have brought guiltiness upon us. And Abimelech charged all his people, saying, he that toucheth this man or his wife shall surely be put to death. Then Isaac sold in that land. He gave money in that land, and received in the same year 100-fold, and the Lord blessed him. And the man waxed great, and went forward, and grew until he became very great. For he had possessions of flocks, and possessions of herds, and great store. The servants of Philistine envied him for all the wells. So he just put a tithe out there in that land to get everything he needed, and God blessed it to come to pass. So Isaac began to dig wells for water. That's what he was doing. Now, let me see, where can I get to you where you can get up to Isaac and Jacob. Let's see. Came to pass when Isaac was old, his eyes were dim. Let me turn this page. It seems like I'm repeating myself. I want to read to you where Jacob wrestled all night with the angel, but I can't find it. Let's see. Rachel bare Jacob no children. Rachel envied her sister. You remember Jacob, he went out from his father and he lived with Laban to try to get the wife that he wanted, but he ended up getting the older wife instead of the younger wife. Then he had to work 7 more years to get Rachel. And then I believe when he got Rachel, she couldn't have children or something, but the older wife had already had some children. But when she did have one son, she passed away. Something like happened with Sarah. So anyway, I'm trying to find where Jacob wrestled all night with the angel of God. Esau, so commanded he, second and a third, and followed the drove, saying, on this manner shall ye speak unto Esau when ye find him. Anyway, Isaac was on his deathbed, and he had Jacob um, and Esau, I believe, and he wanted to speak the blessings over them. So he thought he was talking to Esau, but he was talking to Jacob. His mother said, just pretend that you are Esau because he's old and he's dying. And that's what he did, but he wasn't supposed to do that. This was just a decision of his mother that was wrong. And so when the right person came in, when Esau did come in, his birthright had been given away, just haphazardly, because the mother liked Jacob better, So that's what she did. And he really despised his birthright because he felt like he just wasn't gonna get anything. He had to make a bid with a birthright to get something to eat. That's crazy. That's crazy. So guys, I'm tired, but I'm going to continue to read when I come back. Jacob went to find a wife. He had to work for the wife, to work for Rachel. He still didn't get her. He married the older one. Then he had to work 7 more years, and he ended up getting who he wanted after 7 years, while the older wife was already having offspring. The younger wife couldn't have any offspring. Now he had 2 wives to handle because of the situation he was in. And he didn't even want the first wife. The first wife made him drunk. The father told him, go on in there with him. He made him drunk on the wedding night, and mistakenly he thought it was Rachel, the younger sister, but it wasn't. Ain't that crazy? It's right here in the Bible. She made him drunk and went in with him. And then she got pregnant, the first night, on the wedding night. He didn't even know. He thought he was in there with Rachel, but he was in there with the other one. Then when he got up, the father said, I'm sorry I did that. He said, if you want the younger one, you got to work for me 7 more years. He was a good worker. So he wanted to keep him there. And he did. He worked 7 more years. After that, he got the wife he wanted. So when he got the wife, Rachel, this is in 30 of Genesis, she saw that she could bear him no children. She envied her sister because her sister had already started having kids. So Jacob, give me children or else I die, told Rachel. And Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel. And he said, am I in God's stead who hath withheld from thee the fruit of the womb? He's asking God. And she said, behold, my maid, my maid Bilhah, go on into her, and she shall bear upon my knees, that I may also have children by her. Rachel did the same thing Sarah did. She said, go on in there with my maid and let her, do whatever so you can have your child, because she couldn't do it, And she gave him Bilhah, her handmaid, to wife, and Jacob went in to her and conceived and bare Jacob a son. And Rachel said, go, have judged me, and have also heard my voice. God have heard my voice, and have given me a son. Therefore called she his name Dan. So the maid had a son. The older sister had a son. Now Rachel still didn't have a son, but Rachel said, this is our son. We're going to call him Dan. This is our son. And Rachel said, with great wrestling, have I wrestled with my sister, and have I prevailed? And she called his name Naphtali. So he had another one. When Leah saw that she had left bearing, she took Zilpah, her maid, and gave her Jacob to wife. Okay, so Jacob went in to Leah's maid now, and Jacob had another son. So these maids is getting in the mix with these wives, going into the husband, right? Having kids. It's all mixed up, guys. And Leah said, Troop cometh, and she calleth his name Gad. So, and Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a second son. Now, Leah was having this, Leah had the second son. This is Leah, not the maid. The maid was helping her to have the children. And Leah said, happy am I, for the daughters will call me blessed. And she called his name Asher. So now she's having male babies. Leah, this is the older sister. And Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest and found mandrakes in the field and brought them into his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, give me, I pray thee, of thy sons mandrakes. And she said unto her, is it a small matter that thou hast taken my husband? And wouldest thou take away my son's mandrakes also? And Rachel said, therefore he shall lie in he shall lie with thee tonight for thy son's mandrakes. So Jacob came out of the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him and said, thou must come in unto me, for surely I have hired thee with my son's mandrakes. And he lay with her that night. So Jacob did not really want Leah. She was the older sister, but she was having these babies and they were males. And so Rachel was beginning to get jealous. And I guess this item that they had here, the mandrakes or whatever, would make her more fertile. And she wanted it to, she wanted to give her husband a son because he worked all that time because that's the wife he really loved. So she made a bid with the older sister to get some of the herbals or whatever she had gotten. They went out and harvested. And she said, well, if you let me lay with your husband, which was her husband too, but the husband considered that it wasn't married. That was just what he had to do for the father. He said, well, let me lay with your husband. And he said, oh, she said, okay, if you're going to give me those herbals off the tree or whatever, the mandrakes or whatever, you're going to give me that, you can lay with them. And so this was crazy. This is all in the Bible. And God hearkened unto Leah, and she conceived and bare Jacob a fifth son. So Leah now has a fifth son. Leah said, God hath given me my heir, because I have given my maiden to my husband. And she called his name Ashgar. And Leah conceived again and bare Jacob a sixth son. Now Jacob got six sons. And Leah said, God hath endued me with a good dowry. Now will my husband dwell with me, because I have borne him six sons. And she called his name Zebulun. And afterwards she bare a daughter and called her name Dinah. And God remembered Rachel and gave hearken to her and opened her womb. So now, after the sister has had six or seven children, about six, I believe, six sons and another seven, a daughter, Rachel's womb is open. Rachel is with the husband Jacob all the time, but Leah keep having these children to try to see if she could get the husband to come to her on her side. You know, she was given in marriage to him, but she tricked him because he thought she was the sister that he wanted. So he's never wanted her, but the little sister keep telling him to go over there with her to make for yourself a son or a daughter or whatever, and he keep going over there making these babies, right? So now after she have the seventh child, which is a girl, the Lord blessed Rachel womb finally, that opened it so she could have her own child. And she conceived and bare a son, and said, God hath taken away my reproach. And she called his name Joseph. Okay? And said, the Lord shall add to me another son. And it came to pass, when Rachel had borne Joseph, that Jacob said unto Laban, send me away, that I may go into my own place and into my country. He had had so many children, he had to go have his own land. Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served thee, and let me go, for thou knowest my service which I have done thee. And Laban said unto him, I pray thee, if I have found favor in thy eyes, tarry. He said, stay a while, for I have learned by experience. The Lord hath blessed me for thy sake. And he said, appoint me thy wages, and I will give it. So He's getting ready to leave with all of those wives, all the children. He got the two wives, he got the children, he got the maids, he got all of the flocks and the cattle and all the things he gathered there. He said, it's time for me to go into my own land because his wife was having children now. She had one son. They named the son Joseph. And Jacob agreed with Laban to leave some of the cattle. He said, this is what he said: I will pass through all thy flock today, removing from thence all the speckled and spotted cattle, and all the brown cattle among the sheep, and the spotted and speckled among the goats, and of such shall be mine. So he said, I'm going to take away all the bad cattle out of your good cattle. And then so shall my righteousness answer for me in time to come, when it shall come for my hire before thy face. Every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats, and brown among the sheep, that shall be counted stolen with me. So he says, he taking all the good stuff. I'm leaving you to speckled in the spotted. He said, I'm leaving. He said, everyone that is not speckled or spotted among the goats and sheep, they're stolen with me. So he said he taking all the good goats and sheep. He said, I guess he said, because he done worked here for all this time and did all this, he said, I'm taking what I want. And Laban said, behold, I would it might be according to thy word. And he removed that day that the goats that were ring streaked and spotted, and all that were ring streaked and spotted, and all she goats that were speckled and spotted, and every one that had some white in it, and all the brown among the sheep, and gave them into the hand of his sons. So he had a whole lot of sons. Remember, he had 6 sons, 1 daughter. Then now he got another son, that's Joseph, that's the 7th son. And he had 6, I think he had 8 sons and a daughter. He told them, come on out here, we finna gather up this cattle. This was what Jacob told his sons, right? Come on, he said, we're going to separate these out and take the ones we want. We finna go start our own land and everything. And so Jacob took him rods of green poplar and of the hazel and chestnut tree, peeled white stalks in them, and made the white appear, which was in the rods. And he set the rods which he had peeled before the flocks in the gutters and the watering troughs when the flocks came to drink. So he did everything he had to do. He separated it out and took what he wanted. So he heard the words of Laban's son, saying, Jacob have taken away all that was ours, father, and of that which was ours, father, have he gotten all this glory. And Jacob beheld the countenance of Laban, and behold, it was not toward him as before. And the Lord said unto Jacob, return unto the land of thy fathers, and to thy kindred, and I will be with thee. And Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field unto his flock. And he said unto them, I see your father's countenance, that it is not toward me as before, but the God of my father hath been with me. So Laban wasn't angered at him as before, because he had done all of this for him while he was there for all of those 14 years. And had made all the children, grandchildren, all that. So he wasn't as angry as he was before. So they went on out and started their own homestead. Him, the wives, and all the children and everything went on, started their own homestead. Now he's going to have to go and meet Esau, Jacob, and he's going to have a battle with an angel about what he's done wrong in the past. He worked off his time with Rachel's father and the daughters and everything, but he took Esau's birthright. So this is going to come back up here in the chapter, but I'm going to take a break because we had 29 minutes. I know you guys hate this, but he's going to wrestle with the angel about what he did, because he still have a guilty conscience behind that. So I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good night.